guys. Thanks for watching Within the Frame. My name is Janet. This is Richard.
Hi, everybody.
He normally introduces me, but now I'm going to take over the show one day.
It's her turn to have fun in the sun.
So first off, we're going to talk about some film news. Today is apparently Wonder Woman Day.
Yes, National Wonder Woman Day, apparently. Today, Wonder Woman is being sworn in as an honorary UN ambassador for women's rights and as a role model for women and young girls. And also today, at 1:15 on Twitter, director Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, the star of Wonder Woman, will be doing a live Q&A on Twitter, so you can ask them questions on their Twitter page, and they'll answer them for you. Any interesting news that drops, any tidbits, we'll be covering next week. I'm excited. You know how excited I am for Wonder Woman.
That's really awesome news.
Wonder Woman!
All right, moving forward. So we're going to talk about Arizona news real quick. Just one feature that we're going to talk about today. It's called The Dutchman. Recently won Best Drama at the Laughlin Film Festival. And just to give you a short synopsis, it's about a billionaire's son who drops out of college to go find the lost Dutchman ghost. And it's an AZ feature, so check that out if you can.
Sounds like my life story right there. I tried to drop out of school to find
Billionaire, though?
I was like, oh, okay, we're stretching a little bit. The next bit of news we have is the Phoenix Fan Fest, which is happening October 22nd and the 23rd, sponsored through Comic-Con. And, basically all genres are being brought together. All fandoms are being welcome to do their own short films. WWE star John Cena is going to be there, as well as Stranger Things 11, Millie Bobby Brown, and who is David Harbour from Stranger Things?
Yes.
Is also going to be there? Yes. So
there's a lot of celebrities. Those are just a couple that we were kind of like pointing out. But yeah, a lot of different fandoms, a lot of different celebrities. It's almost like a mini Phoenix Comic-Con happening over the weekend, so that's pretty fun.
I mean, come on, who doesn't love 11? And
yeah.
Stranger Things is awesome.
I'm actually really jealous. I wish I could go.
I know, me too.
Another film fest that's happening is in Tucson, Film Fest Tucson, and that is October 20th and 23rd, also happening this weekend. Screening shorts and feature documentaries and narratives, so check that out if you want to.
And that is a wrap on the Phoenix news. Now we're going to jump into some Hollywood news, some mainstream news. A lot of trailers dropped this weekend. Mm-hmm. 3 big ones.
Yeah.
Let's run them down. I guess the first one we should talk about is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is weird because they labeled it as James Gunn and Marvel didn't call it a teaser trailer. They called it a sneak peek.
Mm-hmm.
But all the trades like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter called it a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call it a trailer because I think we're going to get a bigger trailer when Doctor Strange drops next week.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get a more substantial trailer. But from what we saw, it was a pretty good announcement, basically letting everyone know that they're back. Like people who didn't know they were doing a second one, or people who didn't know it was coming this soon, like now they know. And you hear that music now, you associate so much with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it brings back so many awesome memories of the first.
And Baby Groot at the end there, he was
so cute.
Disney's gonna make a lot of money off that. If they didn't have an excuse to print money before.
No, yeah, it definitely reminded you of the first one. Same feel, silly, fun, same music, themes. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get much of an info on plot. Like, all we got is we saw a little bit of the tentacles of the monster that they were going to be fighting that they showed in the concept art for Empire magazine. But so far, really, it was just about kind of just showcasing that the Guardians are going to be back.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get more with a new trailer. We'll hopefully get our first look at Kurt Russell as Ego the Living Planet, Star-Lord's father. That's not a spoiler. Also, everybody, the director confirmed it. If he confirms it, it's not a spoiler. But the next trailer, oh my God, this is the one. This is the one I was waiting for. I woke up at 6 in the morning, and I don't wake up at 6 in the morning for anything.
He really doesn't.
I don't. But they dropped the trailer for Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was so cool. Okay, I want the record to show that I called that they were going to use Hurt by Johnny Cash. I even posted it on my Twitter and my Facebook. She can vouch for me.
Yeah.
And you can go check it out. I posted that if they didn't use Hurt by Johnny Cash, the cover of the 9 Inch Nails song, I was going to be really, really disappointed. And sure enough, right when that 20th Century Fox logo starts, you hear it. And it was just, it was such a beautiful trailer. It's so... Janet, I'm going to let you take over, and then I'm going to go back, because I have to gather my thoughts right now.
Yeah, just collect yourself for a second. Yeah, well, definitely, Logan trailer is very Western, very cinematic. It almost gives you a very sad feeling. This is the last one. Wolverine is almost done, 17 years. And it definitely feels sad. I mean, you even see the way he looks right now. He's... almost his healing powers are pretty much diminishing, and even Professor Charles, he's bedridden. It feels so sad, but it almost gives you a little bit of hope when you see little mini Wolverine.
X-23. Like, that girl's gonna be X-23. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and like they kind of come together to help her and save her, protect her. And it's such a. I hope it's just gonna be such a nice end to the Wolverine franchise.
When you said that like 17 years ago, I was about to cry. 'Cause, like, think about it. In the time that he's been Wolverine, we've had 3 Spider-Men, 3 Hulks, 2 Supermans, and 2 Batmans. And the fact that he's been so consistently, not only has he been consistent as Wolverine, but he's always been great as Wolverine. This is the role that made him a star.
Yeah.
And because I remember I saw X-Men when I was 6 years old, and he's basically been like this kind of father figure, like for I think an entire generation of people, like this symbol of strength and masculinity. And the idea of him leaving is going to be so sad. Like, that's why it's a tear. It's sad for me to see, but thank you. But I remember, like, at first I was a little concerned because from what I had heard about the plot, it had sounded very similar to other X-Men films. Like, the idea that, okay, it's in the future and mutants are dying. Well, we already saw that in Days of Future Past. And the idea that, okay, his healing isn't working. Well, we saw that in the last Wolverine movie. But just the way this trailer looks just sold me completely. It's so somber, and it's unlike any other superhero movie I've ever seen. I've seen all of them. So this looks it looks different in the X-Men universe. It looks different from everything we've seen from another superhero movie. And it looks like a mix of like a Western, a post-apocalyptic film, and kind of like this road trip movie. Like, the best way I can describe it is it reminds me of like a mix of Mad Max, which is funny because they've always said like Mad Max was a huge influence on the character of Wolverine when they were making the movies. Like a mix of Mad Max and Hell or High Water. And just saying those two things out loud really gets me excited. So I love it. I'm really happy. And Logan has really, I think it's the best trailer so far of the year. Better than the Doctor Strange trailers, better than the Star Wars trailers. And you know how excited I was for that Star Wars trailer. So Logan, March 3rd, 2017. For as much as I don't want it to come because I don't want to say goodbye, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
The next trailer we're going to move on to is Assassin's Creed. And I didn't like this one really that much at all. I feel bad coming up the high that was the Logan trailer and then going to the Assassin's Creed one.
Yeah.
Because...
No, honestly, I am not, in the sense of nerd, a big video gamer. So I have no idea what Assassin's Creed story is. My boyfriend told me about it. It seems like an amazing story. And after seeing the trailer, I'm excited for it. But obviously, like, I don't have that connection that Richard has.
Well, I never really played the games either. I mean, I had friends who played the games, and I watched them play the games.
So why are you disappointed?
It just looks kind of boring. I got Prince of Persia flashbacks when I saw the trailer, just with how brown and gold and orange everything is, like in the past. And it just, like, the way it's lit is, like, depressing. It just doesn't, like, the game's cutscenes look better than this. And I remember going into 2016, we were so excited because we were like, this is going to be the year video game movies do a comeback.
Yeah.
Because we were going to have a Ratchet and Clank movie, we were going to have a Warcraft movie, and we were going to have an Assassin's Creed movie. And right now, it feels like 2 of those were terrible, and this one doesn't look to really be making anything better. And Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard are right now the only things keeping my interest, because I love both of them. Like, I'll go see anything with Marion Cotillard. She's like one of my crushes, so... And then Michael Fassbender, like, how can you not love him? Look at that jawline.
Yeah.
Guy never gives a bad performance. Even in a bad movie, like Prometheus, he's still great in it.
No, that's why I was excited. Like, obviously, he's an amazing actor, and I feel like he has a lot to bring to this.
Yeah, so I'm still going to hold out hope. I want it to be good. I'm hoping that it's like the opposite of Warcraft, where Warcraft looked cool, but ended up being awful.
I know you made a terrible review for
that.
I
hated Warcraft. But I want this to be like where it looks kind of boring and kind of bland and have it be really cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping. But I'm not holding my hopes out. Assassin's Creed comes out on December 21st, 2016. And it's going to be facing some stiff competition with Star Wars Rogue One and La La Land. And there's so many other movies coming out that week. Yeah.
Well, December's a big month.
So next bit of news is Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka.
I mean, the passing of Gene Wilder, that was so sad. And I think it made a lot of people this year revisit the classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And apparently Warner Brothers has decided they're going to do a reboot of Willy Wonka. But not a reboot, though. They said it was like...
something completely different.
They said it's a new film. It's a prequel or an adventure before he was Willy Wonka, but it's not an origin story.
Yeah, and that's weird, right?
Very confusing. I feel like that's just another way of saying origin story without saying origin story.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm interested to see how they make an early adventure story without it being an origin film. Like, that just kind of seems a little contradicting. But yeah, knowing that, Gene Wilder was such an iconic character and, just his recent passing, I'm very curious to see who they cast. Me and Richard were talking about who we would cast, and did you ever, decide?
My pick would be I think my pick would be Keegan-Michael Key, because I feel like you need a funny Willy Wonka. I know that's an odd choice, but I can't think of anyone because you can't replicate Gene Wilder, and you should never try to replicate Gene Wilder. That's what I think the good thing about Johnny Depp was that he didn't try to do Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they've already remade Willy Wonka before, and that didn't go over very well with fans. So it's interesting that they're going to try this again.
Yeah.
Because the definition of insanity is, you try something once, and we're just going to keep repeating it until it works.
Yeah. No, I think obviously as he said, no one can replace him. But as we were thinking about it, I don't know, for some reason James Franco came to my mind.
James Franco, I'm just picturing him the hat and
He's done so many crazy roles. He's always going to different genres. Maybe this would be
I could see him.
One.
I mean, I wouldn't totally be against it.
Yeah.
And it's Willy Wonka, because they just did a Broadway show. Warner Brothers just did a Broadway show of Willy Wonka by Sam Mendes. Mm-hmm. So obviously the character is very interesting. A lot of people are drawn to the character. I just am worried about an origin story because it feels like making Wonka the focus is the problem that happened when you made Jack Sparrow the focus in the other Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Is he works as a supporting character. He works when we know less about him. Mm-hmm. And some characters are meant to be supporting characters. And I think that when you try to give him an arc or a narrative, part of the fun of Wonka is that he's just sort of a crazy person, that we don't know what he's up to. So the idea of spending more time with him, I feel like Charlie, that's why he needs Charlie Bucket. So it's a very weird place to be in. But David Heyman, who produced Harry Potter, and he produced Paddington, and Gravity is producing. So I have faith in him as a producer because Harry Potter, everyone loves Harry Potter. I did not expect to love Paddington as much as I did. That movie was adorable.
I've never seen that.
Oh my God, it was adorable. You need to go watch it. And then Gravity, I wasn't a big fan of Gravity, but I just thought, it was a technical achievement.
I loved it.
We'll talk about that one later.
Okay.
So, yeah, new Willy Wonka movie coming out. Again, not an origin story, but still an early adventure. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep you informed on that one.
Okay, so next, Captain Planet.
Captain Planet. Wow, they really are going 80s nostalgia on that one.
It was more 90s.
Was it 90s?
Yeah, TV show, 1990,
90s,
1992.
You're right, it is, because I for some reason I always just associate with Transformers and Ninja Turtles. So I associated
the cartoon.
But I guess Captain Planet was 90s, but...
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, Leonardo DiCaprio's production company and Paramount are working on making a Captain Planet film.
Now, Leonardo DiCaprio isn't set to play Captain Planet, though. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's just signed on as producer. I don't think he'll play Captain Planet. I think he'll just work as producer. Mm-hmm. They'll probably cast somebody else.
And I think it's awesome because he's known for being such an environmental activist. This movie is just perfect for him.
He really is the real Captain Planet. Yeah. You never saw that Funny or Die sketch with Don Cheadle as Captain Planet? Mm-hmm. I remember every news article I went to was talking about it. We got to get Don Cheadle to play Captain Planet. I don't want that just because it's a scary Captain Planet, but I know Glenn Powell from Scream Queens, who was Chad Radwell, is writing the script, and I feel like he'd be a good Captain Planet. He's maybe a little too young.
There's some rumors about him maybe being casted as well.
It's going to be a fun project to see roll out because it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. Maybe we'll get a Magic School Bus movie in the near future. You laugh, but it's going to happen.
That's so random.
Look, we have a movie about Tetris coming out, so I think we can have a movie about, Magic School Bus.
Magic School Bus, that would be interesting. Bring back a lot of memories.
Have it be a sequel to Captain Planet. Have it be in the same cinematic universe. Hollywood, if you heard that, and you do it, I want some credit for that.
Just like that one song that was in the trailer.
I know. I should get some license. I should get a consultation fee because I want to think that someone at Fox was scouring my Twitter, Twitter, and was like, quick, drop the song in the trailer.
Literally, if you look at his Facebook page, you'll see he reposted a post from last year or what?
No, it was 3 days ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was 3 days ago.
It was an older post.
No, it was 3 days ago. I called it. I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
So next we have Janett is going to review a television show. She's a little behind, and by little I mean a year behind.
Very behind. I don't know. I just finished watching it, and they decided to have me review it. So I'm like, why not? It's American Horror Story. I'm a huge, huge fan of American Horror Story, and I just finished watching Hotel, and it's just because it's on Netflix, and I don't have cable, and I know it's.
It also fits because it's Halloween time,
Yeah, I guess.
Obviously, I'm wearing my American Werewolf in London Slaughtered Lamb T-shirt.
Yeah, so I'm definitely behind, but just for those who are interested, American Horror Story. So yeah, if you don't know about it, it's an anthropology series. Every season they have Anthropology series.
I think you meant to say, I'd say anthropology series. That sounds like
I caught myself. I'm like, that's not what I meant to say.
worst college credit ever.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Anthology series.
Anthology series. There you go. Yeah, every season.
Janett, is there any booze in that coffee cup?
Shut up. Every season they do something different. They've done a murder house. They've done Coven. They've done
Freak Show.
They've done a bunch. Asylum, which was like my favorite. And so this time they did Hotel, a haunted hotel, and they brought back all of their old cast. Well, not all of them, unfortunately. And they brought in new cast members like Lady Gaga. And of course, when this was first announced, people were very skeptical. But after watching this, I am so impressed by her. Like, she did an amazing job. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't seen it. I know it's been a year. Spoilers aren't really a thing anymore. But she did amazing. And, of course, all the returning cast are just obviously killed it. It definitely is at par with the other seasons. It's not my favorite. Like I said, Asylum is still my favorite. For a few reasons, it just took a lot of twists and turns that were a little odd. Like in the season finale, there was a crossover between seasons, and I know there's been a lot of talk about how the seasons are related to each other, but they've never actually done a crossover, and so this one was a little odd for me, especially because actors that played different characters in seasons were crossing over, so there was like the same actor playing two different characters in this episode, so that was a little odd. And then there's a weird social media twist at the end that is just a little bizarre. I don't want to say too much about it, but you know, finales are always like, for American Horror Story, they always try to end on a happy note, tie everything together. And I think that's one of the weaknesses that American Horror Story has, is that they always try to make it into a happy ending, and it doesn't always work. And for this one, it was a little half and half, especially with some of the turns that I mentioned. So, but yeah, I think it was good, and I'm definitely excited to watch Roanoke, even though it's already like
halfway over
on air. When it's on Netflix, I'll go ahead and watch that and give you another review.
So yeah, guys, check out American Horror Story. It's on Netflix. You can watch it. Get ready for the Halloween season. Also, you can watch The Walking Dead as the new season premieres. Season 7 premieres this Sunday. We're gonna find out who Negan killed. Other Halloween shows you can watch to get ready include on Netflix iZombie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Being Human. Those are all good choices for Halloween. Yeah. Gotta love the monsters. Mm-hmm. And now we're gonna move on to, actually before we move on, I want to address something you said really quick about how they played like people on American Horror Story played similar characters, and they like. I always wanted like a ultimate Seth Rogen movie where all of his characters like cross over.
Oh my
like
God.
the cop from Superbad arrests the guy from Pineapple Express, and they arrest him outside of the Smart Tech from 40 Year Old Virgin.
Oh my God.
And it's like the dad from Knocked Up is like walking through. It's like, hey, that one good looking cop is arresting that one good looking guy. And like where?
So
and then just have Green Hornet burst in somewhere.
That would be interesting. I think he's definitely down to do something like that. As we've seen, he's down to do almost anything.
I'm waiting for a Seth Rogen cinematic universe.
Right.
That's the cinematic universe we need.
That'd be funny.
That could rival the MCU.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to move on to some movie reviews. Janett has a new film in theaters, and I have a re-release.
A new film in theaters?
Well, yours came out last week.
No. I don't have a film in theaters.
Okay, you don't.
I watched a film in theaters.
She's gonna decide to get technical with her words, and she went to go see.
It doesn't make any sense.
Fine, Janett, what was the movie you went to go see this week in theaters?
I debated whether I wanted to do this or not, because it's a movie technically, but it's a stand-up. And talking about What Now by Kevin Hart. Just to give you a quick overview of it, it's just his 2015 stand-up by the same name, What Now? And there's a good 15-20 minute casino scene that it could be like a short film with Halle Berry and Don Cheadle and Kevin Hart, obviously, and it's hilarious. They're awesome in it. But then the rest of it is all his stand-up. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Hart. I think he's hilarious. I love his work ethic. And yeah, it was funny. If you're a fan of it, if you're a fan of his, you should definitely watch it. There's a joke in there about Starbucks that was just hilarious, reminded me of you.
You're gonna get me fired for that one.
No, it's just so funny how technical Starbucks is, and he just made hilarious joke about it. But yeah, it's in theaters right now. If you're interested in watching, it's going to be his very last special of his stand-ups, just because he broke comedy history. He filled up an entire football stadium in Philadelphia with 53,000 people, and he wants to end that as like the peak of his career. And so this will be his last special that he films.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the trailer, I just I didn't know it was a comedy show film until like a month ago. Like when I saw that first trailer, like they showed a lot of those casino scenes, so I just thought it was like some other like Central Intelligence style.
Well, you know, like a lot of stand-ups, they'll have that opening, that 20-minute opening that most people like fast forward through on Netflix.
Yeah. I've never watched the openings to those things.
Yeah, but this one was actually pretty interesting because, like I said, it was very cinematic. There was writers, there was directors, there was everything. There was Halle Berry and Don Cheadle, and then made a lot of jokes about them, and it was funny. It was entertaining, and I would recommend you not go through that when it's on Netflix. But yeah.
So would you tell them to go see it in theaters, or would you?
Yeah, well, I've never seen a special, like a comedy special in theaters before, but like I said, I'm a huge fan of him. I decided to watch this one. If you are super into stand-up, I would say watch it. Watch it now. It's funny. You'll be missing out. But if you're not a huge fan, maybe just wait until it's out on Netflix. All
right. Thank you, Janett, for that. And now my review is for Aliens. They showed Aliens at Harkins for their Tuesday Night Classics. It's weird reviewing an older movie, like a movie that's 30 years old. Aliens celebrated its 30th anniversary this year. So it's like, what can I say that already hasn't been said? Except it's awesome. Like, Aliens is like one of those films that like I have a fond association with because like it was one of my dad's favorite movies. Mm-hmm. So like every day I'd come home from school and it would either be Aliens, Predator, or Terminator 2 on at the house. So like I grew up with those movies. So I love those movies. And we got to see Terminator 2 and Predator on the big screen. So it was fun to get to see Aliens. Like we got to see all three of them.
Yeah.
And I want to set the record straight here. I know there's a lot of debate about you can't compare like which is better, Alien or Aliens, and you can't compare one because one's a horror film and one's an action film. That's true. But Aliens is still scary. Like I want to Aliens is still terrifying. And yeah. Everyone says, well, they've got guns, so it's like, no, even with guns, they show how outmatched they are against the xenomorphs. And, like, I took a friend who had never seen an alien movie before, and she was terrified. Her jaw, she was, like, open, she was like, oh, my God. And, like, her best friend was just like, because she had seen it, and they were like, you thought this was scary? She's like, of course I thought it was scary. So, Aliens, I honestly think Aliens is the better movie than Alien. I love Alien, but I think Aliens it has the most rewatch value. It has the more interesting characters, a cleaner plot. It's a much more straightforward plot. It has such great atmosphere along with great action. It's terrifying, and like I said, the characters are more memorable between, obviously Ripley, but you remember Newt, you remember Hicks, you remember, Vasquez, you remember Hudson. There's so many great characters, so many great lines. Just thinking about it, like, hey, Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man before? No. Have you? I just need to know one thing, where they are. And obviously everyone remembers, it was the coolest thing in the theaters to go see it. And when Ripley says, get away from her, you bitch. And the whole audience just erupted in cheers. It's such a great moment. So yeah. I was happy to see Aliens on the big screen. And if you haven't seen Aliens, which if you haven't, what's wrong with you? Go watch it now. It's a good Halloween.
I haven't.
All right, let's put up that technical difficulty thing. But you should go check it out for Halloween. It's a good Halloween movie. And also, Harkins will be playing Halloween, the 1978 John Carpenter movie, this Tuesday. So if you want to check that on the big screen, which you totally should, that's made to be seen on the big screen. Check it out.
I just haven't seen any of these. I get scared really easily.
Halloween is not a good time for you.
I like the experience, dressing up, having, going out and stuff like that. But like just the movies, I get really into movies, obviously. And so when I watch a horror movie, I'm so terrified. And I know I just did a review of American Horror Story, but it's completely different.
Yeah, because horror is in the title.
Oh, it's just different. I don't know. For some reason, I accept it when it's in American Horror Story.
That's fine. When it's based off sort of real things. I would also like to, before we move on really quick, I would also like the record to show, in addition to Aliens, as far as great sequels, Blade 2 for this Halloween. Blade 2 is better than Blade 1. There, I said it. Go watch Blade 2.
All right.
All right, now, let's move on to our guest.
Yeah, so today we have Robert Conway with us, and he directed and wrote Krampus Unleashed. So we're going to talk to him about that today. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you for coming, Robert.
Yeah. So can you explain first the synopsis of Krampus Unleashed?
Closer. I'm getting some visual cues here. Yeah, well, I mean, essentially, I don't know how many people saw the Krampus film I did last year. But that was more of kind of like a Twilight Zone approach to something. It's got a kind of twist at the end type deal. What I wanted to do with this one was make more of a conventional horror film in the sense of like, kind of like the, 80s and 90s movies, the monster films, Tremors, stuff like that are more entertainment based. Not really trying to do anything more than that, but it was a cool way to work in a lot of comedy. So, I mean, the premise is, a monster attacks a family over Christmas, over the Christmas holiday. There's a little prequel there where we kind of explain a little bit about, my origin of the Krampus story, which is there's many different origins of the Krampus story. But, so this kind of starts out with these treasure hunters who unearth this evil thing that inevitably brings in the scary monster and mayhem ensues. So.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we try to keep it more, like it lighthearted.
Yeah, I feel like I would watch that.
I mean, the gore is pretty heavy. The gore is like, that is one thing. It's not. It's definitely not PG.
Gore doesn't scare me. It's more like that, like, oh my god, you don't know when the crazy demon's gonna show up, and like I'm gonna have nightmares.
That says a lot about your personality. That gore doesn't bother you.
Right. Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, the only thing. I mean, I consider it lighthearted, and gore doesn't bother me either. Like Monty Python, live organ transplants, stuff like that. You guys are probably too young to remember that. But like, it's not like a cerebral or psychological thing. It's more of a. It's supposed to be a fun film, and that was kind of my goal, to make it was fun. Like the old, again, even going back to like, what's the ultimate monster movie? It was King Kong.
Yeah.
It's just having fun with something, having fun with this big scary creature that people have to run from and try to survive, and then of course 99% don't survive. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
So King Kong was one of your inspirations, and like you said, Tremors. What were some other inspirations for you when you were making these?
Well, I mean, it's partially a fantasy film, and the thing when you have a creature like Krampus that you're doing a movie on, it's a lot of fun because it is a really a creature based completely in mythology and fantasy. Yeah. And I think part of the challenge is sometimes if you have something like a monster that is very, fantasy oriented, it's hard to make it super scary because it's kind of like, the stuff that scares me might be some paranormal stuff or, a movie about a crazy killer, Silence of the Lambs, what have you, something like that is more terrifying because like it's more relatable. Yeah. A lot of people believe in an afterlife or something like that, or at least maybe believe in it. They don't know. A lot of agnostics, whatever. There's a certain amount of credibility that comes with films like Exorcist or like, a serial killer film. Yeah. That don't really come with the Krampus film. So, I mean, my inspiration was just to make a fun monster movie, and I think that was like, is it scary? Hopefully at times you get that little, but it's not, it's meant, again, to be more of a kind of a fun kind of thrill ride. So I would say King Kong is just the ultimate monster movie, as in like Psycho is the ultimate slasher movie, and in one way or another, every monster movie after King Kong from 1930, whenever, has been essentially kind of a remake. I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's a very similar plot.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that one.
Yeah, and it's the same with Psycho. Every time you see a slasher film, it's like, okay, it's just, they've kind of set the model, and we're just trying to, make it our own, take some ownership onto it, be creative with it, but it's people running from the monster, and the people, I try to make my characters entertaining, I try to make you care about them. I mean, there's a lot of them, and you don't have a lot of time to develop a relationship, so, but I was really lucky in this. I had a wonderful cast. Most of them get killed very quickly, so it's okay. But, at least give them a couple memorable lines, make people relate to them, and we had very good actors doing it. There wasn't the soap opera performances that you often do see, particularly like in monster movies of all stripes, but certainly in films that are done on the independent level. Yeah. I had a very good cast here, so.
Yeah, and this wasn't your first. Like you mentioned, you did another Krampus film.
I did another one which was a much different direction. I mean, that was more like, not trying to be uber horrifying, really, again, but trying to do, I'm a big fan of the original Twilight Zone series. And, I like the plot twists and things like that. And there I was kind of going in a different direction where I was trying to make it like a Twilight Zone type feel to it, where you have the twist at the end, you have the reveal, you have the mystery, and this was just more, kind of all out gore, comedy, a I think, funny one-liners. I mean, there's some tragic, really kind of sad moments when certain characters die because it just is kind of brutal.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's also some really funny kills in the same movie. Like I'm telling you, there's this, like, you shouldn't laugh, but this really sweet actor who played the grandmother, it's terrible, but Krampus just like bats her like that, and her head goes flying off, and you just have to kind of like laugh at that. It's very Army of Darkness, and that's, if you're going to talk about influences, I mean, we can talk about films like that, or even some of the films that, Sam Raimi might have been definitely was going for a comedic appeal.
Yeah.
But like sometimes there was films that inspired me that weren't necessarily going for a comedic appeal, but they were really funny, like Return of the Living Dead series. They were hysterical, and like they're some of the best comedies you can watch, even though they're silly movies, and maybe that but they're appreciated, and they definitely inspired me too.
Kind of like those later Friday the 13th movies where they just kind of went all out for like.
It's kind of like it just again like Monty Python is a huge how violent they were. And how, I mean, this sounds macabre, because real violence, of course, is terrible, and it's not funny at all. But fake violence has been really funny since, like, the dawn of cinema. Yeah. Like, The Three Stooges is so morbidly macabre, but it's like, guys taking saws and hatchets to each other. Like, that's awful. But when you see it, like, physical comedy, violent physical comedy, I know it sounds bad, it's funny. Yeah. As long as no one's really getting hurt.
Right. Yeah.
As long as, it's, Python was great with that, with cutting limbs off of people, and I'll bite your legs off, and it's just kind of that whole. I think the two can really blend well together, horror and comedy.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask about because the Krampus is a character that not a lot of people know about. So what drew you to like the idea or like the mythos and the story?
It started. What really drew me to it was how basically. You do see where there's an awful lot of sequels, remakes, blah, blah, blah. I mean, how many times can you do a werewolf? How many times can you do, a vampire, what have you? I mean, there starts to be a certain point where you really, you make your mind. If you're making a monster film, we've kind of seen it and done it. And then here comes Krampus, where nobody in America knew who he was a couple of years ago. And this is before the big Hollywood release or anything like that. And I think there was like one independent release that was actually like the first one to be made. But it was really big in places like Austria and Germany, and this is kind of a communal thing that the adults dress up around the Christmas season. It's kind of their Halloween, and they dress up in these crazy outfits and scare the kids. But it's big in Europe, and it's kind of a neat monster to find out about. Oh, the Christmas demon. That's a pretty fun concept to play with. Mm-hmm. At a time of the year when everything's supposed to be all sweet. It's kind of right. There's been some cool movies where they've made Santa the bad guy, but I kind of like this. It's a little bit more interesting. So I think that was kind of it. Trying to find a monster that was interesting, comes from Germanic folklore, is big in Europe, and I think definitely growing. Kind of following year by year, it seems to be picking up more.
Mm-hmm. Right. Going back to your earlier filmography, I was on IMDb and I saw that your first feature you actually did when you were going to film school.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that? Like, did you go to ASU?
No, I didn't. I went to a place. It was I went to Scottsdale Community, and then I went to a place called College, which isn't around anymore. Mm-hmm. Kind of a lot of controversy over that issue there. But for me, it was basically an experience where I said, like, okay. No one's ever going to get you a job, or anybody who says that you're going to guarantee anything is a guaranteed liar. So, but they had a bunch of equipment. They had a good studio. They had a good, a Fisher 10 Dolly and an HD F900, which is like ancient, but at the time was like awesome. Mm-hmm. And I said, like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to use my classmates as crew. And it was actually, I was able to get a little bit of money, a couple of local people who had seen my short film. It was also a Western. I got them to invest, very little, but it was enough for us to get a micro-budget SAG contract so we could actually get, there's many great non-union actors, but we were able to use union talent as well. It was basically, that was it. It was something we did over Christmas break so that we could have access to all of the equipment without, having to return it that day or whatever. So, there were certain people who were involved in Collins College who were really great people. Michael Bostic was my visual effects teacher. Couldn't have done it without him. Mm-hmm. Stephen Bradford, who was a department chair, who signed off on letting us take all that equipment for like 3 weeks. Yeah. That's probably $2 million in equipment. He's right. So controversy aside, and I'm not going to try to justify like the administrative stuff that went on at Collins, because a lot of that I'm not happy about. But there were really good people there. There really were.
That's awesome.
And
It's awesome that you were able to do that while you were in school.
It was, I just felt like I kind of had to. I felt like nobody wanted to see my demo reel. Nobody wanted to see a resume that didn't exist.
Right.
And I just really wanted to make a movie, and I think it was like, I see a lot more people today. This was a long time ago when I did it, like 2006 or something. But like a lot of young people today are taking it upon themselves to make films. I think it's really important. I think it's really like use whatever resources you have and come up with something. And that's exciting to see today.
Yeah.
It's and as you guys know, if you're doing it, it's not easier. People say, well, you don't shoot on film anymore, so it's easier. No, it's cheaper. But it's not necessarily easier. I mean, every other problem you're still going to have. You're still going to have your location issues and your insurance issues and your actor issues and your crew, getting the proper crew schedule, whatever. I mean, production is production, and it's never easy, but it's nice to see a lot of people doing it, So.
And so now, fast forwarding to today, where is this film screening?
Well, this one comes out on VOD on demand November 1st. And then we have a DVD release of December 15th. Also, Redbox, it will be December 13th. So what we do first, we have a VOD release. That's the first place you can see it, the best place you can see it. Also, the only place you can see it in high def is VOD.
Yeah.
DVD, obviously, we don't have Blu-ray on this, it's just standard def. So iTunes, Amazon, Xbox, I'm not sure which cable companies. It's always kind of changing. Or satellite companies. Like last year we were on not Dish. What's the other one? DirecTV. Whether we are this year or not, I don't know. I believe we will be, but don't quote me on that. I don't really know. Some like the cable companies and the satellite companies change depending on what the distributor works out with these different outlets. But what I can tell you is like yes, Amazon, Xbox, PlayStation. iTunes, Google Play, so basically anywhere iVOD.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, I have one last question just about the whole video on demand thing, because you've obviously been doing this for a while. Can you explain to like our audience the importance of like ordering on video on demand as opposed to like say waiting for Redbox? Because obviously.
Well, I mean, I think one of the big things is obviously we want to see a film get some good numbers on its first month out. I mean we have to. It's money is part of it. People put up a lot of money to make these films happen, and they need to make money back. But also, like I said before, it's a chance to see it in HD. It's a chance to see it before there's a bunch of other. Redbox is wonderful to us. We love Redbox, but yeah, I mean, VOD is it's part of obviously a marketing plan.
Yeah,
and that's definitely true. But it's like I said, if you want to see it in HD, it's going to cost a little bit more, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So.
And do you have any upcoming projects that
I have another movie that I did last year that it's funny that I actually shot before I shot Krampus, and then Krampus we had to like really push out quick to make the a seasonal release for the Christmas holiday. So I had to kind of leave that movie and then come back to it, and I just finished it. And it's called The Covenant, and that's a much different film than Krampus. I mean, it's about as far. The only thing is the horror genre is similar, yes, but it's a complete horror, kind of like what you were saying about Aliens, where you have, within a genre, you can really have different films. I mean, where Krampus is lighthearted and kind of, entertainment-based. I mean, you want every film to be entertaining, of course. Covenant is it's cerebral. It deals with real-life issues. It's much more of a drama. Yeah. And that's, some ways it'll cross over and appeal to the same audience, but in other ways it may appeal to a different audience. I mean, it's really apples and oranges. So I'm very proud of both films. I love both of the films. Definitely Krampus was an easier, more fun shoot because we weren't dealing with some of the subject matter we were in a more serious movie. But I'm equally excited for that. Like that would sometime in early January is what we're looking at for release on that.
That's awesome.
Nice. So back-to-back releases. You're going to be very busy.
Yeah. Well, actually, most of my work is done. Now it's just trying to find the next thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, like any type of like, I do a few interviews and things like that, but that's nothing compared to being in one of the production phases, pre-production or post. So. Yeah.
Well, I think after doing 2 back-to-back features, I think you've earned a month break. I think you've earned
I get bored really quickly. And I'm already actually contemplating a couple of new ideas, kind of working on some new things that I'm writing. I'm also working with another writer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the film Inbred. It was relatively big on the indie scene. Came out of the UK. Very, very graphic film that Paul Shrimpton wrote, and I'm working with him now on a script idea that we have.
Nice.
Because it's, you know, I started working with more writers the more I go on. I used to do more of the writing myself, and sometimes I still do. Like Krampus, I 100% wrote myself. Covenant, I brought in 2 writers. My brother Owen and Chris Smith, a local writer, very talented writer here. So, yeah, I'm trying to pick other people's brains too, get people involved on the real basic concept level. So I always want to see what somebody thinks. I'll give them a little bit of what I'm thinking about, and then see what they come back with. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, you know. And you're utilizing that more, which is new for me. I'm certainly not a control freak when it comes to any part of the process. I like to get as much input as possible from writer friends and other people. So, and the goal is to make the best movies we can. So.
Yeah. So where can people stay current with what you're doing or find out what your films are?
You know, basically, IMDb is a relatively good place. You know, I'm on social media. I'm always bad about forgetting my handles and stuff, but I think I'm FilmGuy79 on Facebook. But if you Google me, honestly, the easiest way to do it, if you Google me, and you know, there's other Robert Conways in the world, but if you Google me on like filmmaker or something, I believe that'll take you to all my Facebook, you know, my Twitter. I'm pretty active on those. So, yeah, awesome. And there's a lot of, I mean, I have a lot of, the horror press is great to us. So if you want to find out, you know, new movies that I'm doing, I mean, we have a very nice, very good publicist. He always gets the word out there about our projects. So. Yeah, I'm easy to find. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It just depends on who you're talking to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, make sure you look up Robert Conway and see all of his films that are coming out. Google them. But thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you, Robert. It was really a pleasure.
Oh, I'm glad.
So I feel like you and me can bond over some horror movies, some of those old
classics. I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely look forward to that.
Some of those old, you getting ready for Halloween?
Yeah, I had a couple of costume ideas that might be a little politically controversial. I was thinking of going as Donald Trump this year. But, you know, just get somebody one of my makeup artist friends who do the orange skin tone. I think it would be, but I haven't figured out the hair. So.
I guess the last question I want to ask you before we leave, since you're a big horror guy, what's your go-to movie on Halloween aside from John Carpenter's Halloween? Like, what's your favorite movie to watch around this time of the year?
I mean, there is so many of them. You know, it really is. I mean, I still go back to Hitchcock. I still go back to the original Psycho. I go to movies like that. You know, there are so many. And horror is such a vast genre. It really is. I mean, like, it's everything from comedy to drama to, you know, whatever. Western even. You have Western crossover car. But there's a lot. I mean, some of my biggest influences were John Carpenter. Movies like The Thing, particularly his earlier stuff. Definitely his earlier stuff was, I think, way of stuff, you know. In my opinion, just a lot better. But
that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah, I think we've established that as a fact. But yeah, there are a lot. I mean, again, like some of my favorite stuff also is stuff that you would call more suspenseful. I love Anthony Hopkins' Silence of the Lambs. I love that whole, you know, that film. And the other films are okay to watch, but I still watch Silence at least probably about once a week. So that's not exclusive to Halloween. But yeah, I mean, and I also like some of the really goofy ones. Sometimes I'll put on a really fun zombie movie just to see like the great one-liners, like, you know, Return of the Living Dead series. I like a lot. Those are great. So
those are fun.
They are.
Oh, Robert, thank you again for coming on. It was such a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
And guys, that is pretty much a wrap for our show today. Coming out this week in theaters is Ouija, Origin of Evil, which I've actually heard pretty good things about. We might have a review for that next week.
We'll won't be seeing it.
We'll see if I have time. I would like to check it out. We also have Boo, a Medea Halloween, and what is the other one coming out this week? I cannot remember. Oh, what's the one with Gal Gadot and John Hamm? Keeping Up with the Joneses, the Mr. and Mrs. Smith movie without Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. That's the other one. So those are coming out this week. We'll hopefully have a new review for you next week, and we'll keep you guys up to date on any movie news. We'll keep you up to date on the website. Janett, where can they find you at?
You guys can find me on YouTube at My Road to Hollywood and Twitter at JanettSalas93.
All right, and you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RLFink94. And guys, please subscribe to this channel. Please, like us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and again, we'll keep you up to date on all the movie news, and local Arizona talent. And thank you guys for watching and staying within the frame.